AI can do many things that we thought were only in the domain of humans. So it's an ongoing conversation.
So I think we'll have a very, very entertaining time today.
The patient put it on, she immediately took it off. She said, I cannot stand seeing an image of myself looking back at me as a hologram. Right, so that was the first time that we realized that, it is not just what the surgeons and the clinicians and the doctors feel is useful, but when we treat patients and when we bring new technology to patients, it is very important for us to consider things from their perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, like for example, humanizing AI, right? How do we make things human by allowing the patient to accept AI as part of their treatment? And to us, that is part of humanizing AI as well.
He's talked about it from the point of the patient as the user, the patient receiving the care. But actually the other user of the technology are the surgeons. And it's also about designing that AI, that digital experience, such that the doctors are willing to embrace it in order to deliver better care for the patients. So there's actually a few levels of user experience that we need to design this technology for in order to achieve that optimal outcome. Right. I think it's not so different when you think about the digital world and the physical world, in that at the end of the day, it's humans behind it, and we're all seeking similar connections. So I think the challenge then is, how do we build these digital realms that allow the human being to also find that sense of belonging, that they want to stay longer in this digital space.
It's a very simple hypothesis. As pockets of liquidity and economic gravity grow, finance comes into intermediate. Right? So the quest for finance has to be ready for that when it happens. You've got to know what the blockchain is, you've got to know how to set up your collateral, your security, your pricing, your risk management, your treasury, your liquidity management, and so on and so forth.
Communities, we find in developing countries, learn better when there's human-to-human connections. More so if a human being from an income level interacts freely with another human being with a higher income bracket, because there's this sense of awe, there's this sense of what the possibilities are for this individual, there's this sense of desire for knowledge. We have various kinds of technology, there's AI, that's all kinds of technology, but it's to connect people. And I must say our schools are not only profitable, but our kids do above world average international benchmark exams.
Which is in terms of adaptability and adoption, no problem lah. They got this, right? So in a sense, that should give us both a reason to say, you know what, let's build it right for them.
So I mean, every time when there's a new technology, there's going to be optimism, there's going to be pessimism, right? There are people who are going to be, very for it. There are people who are going to say that, this new technology is going to kill us all, right? So I think it's really down to how we intend to use it, how we're going to implement it, and where we feel that line is between using it to benefit our lives every day versus abusing it and essentially doing the wrong things that we do. And to be honest, I don't think that that line is a solid line. It moves every single day, it moves every single second with new technology. For my kids, to be honest, I'm neither fearful nor overly optimistic about all this new technology, AI and everything. To me, it's just something that will come, something that will be part of their lives, and something that we just have to essentially grow together with and figure out how to use it as we move along.
I think there's no need for creating these humans to this point where the people can't tell the difference. That's the scariest part of this entire AI for me.
I actually stand on the other side of Jasper. I'm quite optimistic. And perhaps just I share a bit of Ijia's view in that this the way the world is going. I think our responsibility is to design a system that allows us to manage those risks that Jasper talks about.
For example, if let's say they have a hologram of a patient in front of them that looks exactly like a real person, and if let's say they do a wrong step in a surgery or they give a wrong medication, and that AI patient starts to deteriorate and get worse, we want to see the actual response from the students. How are they responding to this fake patient? Does it actually impair the judgment? Does it make them work faster? Does it make them think faster, or do they actually freeze on the spot? Right. So what we want to do is to make the scenarios as realistic as possible, so that we train the muscle memory and we train the response for the students, so that if let's say they face the same situation in a real life scenario, it is something that they are already trained for and they are familiar with.
So I think there's this balance that we're going to see as a society, right? That we're going to kind of see this evolution of shared community, everything that makes us anchor to a city and to a community change, right? And how do we design for, in a sense, a shared community despite the individualization of, experiences, musical tastes, graphics, all that kind of thing.
Again, in developing countries, communities are built through storytelling.
So to me, what I hope in 5, 10, 15 years time in the healthcare system is that regardless of what happens, we don't deviate from that primary mission and that core ethical consideration that it is the patient that matters the most. It is not the technology. The technology is there so that we do our job better, regardless of what it is, and that's kind of how I hope healthcare is going to be.
And I think it's all about the stories that we're able to tell that show us where we came from and also show us what we could be. In many ways, storytelling kind of foretells where we're going because it is the human imagination. And last year we published, as part of the 20th anniversary of the Council, we published 20 stories of designers who have made a difference to Singapore. And so I think we wanted to portray all these different stories of people just doing wonderful things and having an impact on our life.
I think as humans, I ask my fellow humans to equalize some odds out there. Because I believe if you are sitting, any one of us, if you are sitting on something good, you need to make that good available to as many people as possible in the best possible way.
And therefore, the people who care have to be the Avengers. Jay,
And I actually agree with both gentlemen. And I think it's really up to us to use AI for good. And I'm actually really optimistic because if you look at the youth, because they are already digital natives and AI natives in so many ways, you see that the projects that they are taking on in their community, actually they're channeling a lot of it for good.
Yeah, but I think, for myself, to me it's about growing together, right? Because it is a journey both for the humans as well as a journey for AI, right? And essentially it is a colliding and mixing of two worlds. And how to humanize it essentially is that we just have to grow together, right? Figure out where we're going as best as we can. Even if we don't know where we're going, then just take it one step at a time. And like we've all mentioned that every time there's something new, there is always abuse, but there is always good that comes out of it, right? So it's up to us to decide how we want to use it, how we want to grow with it, whether or not we're going to let it dictate the way we live, or we'll let it shape the way we live, but we have control over how we want it to help to shape our lives. So I think that's, to me, how to humanize AI.
To thank our panelists, our amazing panelists.